Hello folks, before we get to the video, I wanted to do this little, I don't know, administrative note, commentary, whatever you want to call it. But it seems like scamming over the internet is a never ending thing. But what I will say to you is if you are caught in this situation, don't give up. There may be some recourse for you. I am presently pursuing possible legal actions against someone who did me dirty. The purchase was made in person, but it was arranged and set up over the internet, so it still falls into this category. Also, I was just scrolling through Facebook looking at statues and all of that stuff and came across a scam alert for some statue buying or selling person who's trying to scam folks. Just a never ending thing. Also, I watched a video on YouTube a few days ago where this buyer, yes, he was the buyer. The buyer had got scammed by this guy. And what I wanted to say is this, and it's the same thing I told this guy who got scammed on YouTube. A lot of these scammers, folks, you can take them to small claims court. So there is some recourse. And a lot of this stuff that they are doing over the internet and they think they can get away scot-free is not always the case. Now, one disclaimer before I continue. I'm no lawyer. This is not official legal advice. All I'm saying is look into it in your state. Just look into it and see if there is some recourse for you. Now, I'm no Matt Murdock, okay? So I don't know all the laws and all the loopholes for this stuff, but just look into it. A lot of the stuff these guys are doing could possibly be considered fraud, theft by deception, or misrepresentation. So I would advise you to look into that and see if what's going on with your situation falls into one of those categories. Also, one more thing about the video before we get to the video. Around the 5-minute mark, I think things got a little convoluted and mixed up in my head, so it wasn't coming out right. Now, to clarify, around that 5-minute mark, I was talking about one of my past situations where this buyer or potential buyer, I think I referred to him as a seller. Please disregard that. I meant to say buyer, but I said seller. In my situation, I want to just edit that part out, but if I did, it would leave out some critical information, and then something else wouldn't make sense. And I don't want to record the whole video over. So please keep this in mind when you get around the 5-minute mark. Also, around the 5-minute mark, I'm talking about a different situation with the 3D guy who I buy 3D models from. I'm talking about my situation and his situation, and I think things got a little mixed up. But in his situation, he was the seller and the culprit was the buyer. All right, so I hope that clears things up. Okay, yeah, I think I've talked enough, folks. Let's get into the video. It's coming up right after this. Hello, folks. I am here to talk about something that's a little bit out of my lane, but I'm going to go there anyway. You're going to see some ugly stuff here. So I apologize if this offends you, but statue making is not always pretty. It's not always sexy. And this is the ugly part of it, I guess. At least for me, until I learn better ways of doing this. And my music cut off again. What's going on with that computer? All right, but I'm going to keep it moving. So what I have here, this is the base for one of my Cornish figures. and it is of course hollow, as you can see, and I wanted to add some weight to it. Let me finish this part, then I'll get into all of the ugly business of, I guess I didn't even mention that at my opening, did I? Nope. Okay, let me back up. All right, folks, in this video, I will be talking about lying, cheating, scamming, scheming, and just, I guess, putting out false information on folks. I don't know how to sum that all up, but that's what I'll be talking about. Okay, now let's get back to this. What I did was I attempted to drill a hole. I can't remember what this drill bit is called, but that's what I used. And I attempted to drill a hole, but because it is hollow, I pushed down too hard and it cracked. It cracked this big piece here. And then I came over here, attempted to do the same thing, and it cracked again. And that's why it looks like it does now. So what I did, well, the reason I was drilling the hole in the first place was to make it easier for me to fill this with plaster of Paris. If you start using this stuff, I'm going to tell you it's messy until you learn the right way to handle it. And I haven't learned yet. I'm still trying to learn. But anyway, it gets kind of messy here, as you can see. Now I filled it with plaster and it left some nooks and crannies in there. I wanted to fill those up. So I have resorted to baking soda again to try to fill all the nooks and crannies. And once that's done, I will be putting some epoxy. I guess epoxy going to be the bottom layer of all of this stuff here. And then I have some of these pieces for the bottom. I still have them. So I'm going to put those here, put the epoxy in. Hopefully the epoxy will hold everything together, because I will be putting some weight on this. Hopefully it'll push everything back into place and it'll turn out looking okay. So much for that. Now, let's talk about the lying, cheating, and scamming. Folks, I guess several months ago, I had an experience where I had posted an item on eBay for sale. And I made a video about it. If you want to get all the details, you can go back and look at the video. I won't rehash all of that. But I posted an item for sale. One potential buyer, and I stress the word potential because this person never bought it. Well, he did not officially buy it. He accidentally bought it but didn't pay for it, and there was a difference. So I had to go through all these changes with eBay, trying to get all that stuff straightened out. He later came back and made a comment or a review saying that I was a bad seller and left some negative comments about me. I rebutted that through eBay. eBay said no, there was no sufficient grounds for me to have his comment or review removed from eBay. So that negative review was still there. I did not want that person's untrue or inaccurate comment to ruin any possible sales for me. So I made a video explaining the whole thing. In the event in the future someone doubts or questions my reliability, my trustworthiness, or my integrity, they can go back, and I posted the messages between me and this seller, air quotes around seller, and they can see what the actual events were and what happened. Recently, I had an experience, or how can I say this? Okay, let me put it this way. I'm not going to use the seller's name. And this seller now I'm talking about is not the same seller I had my bad experience with. The seller I'm talking about now is actually someone I deal with. And I bought this and several other 3D models from him. Someone put out a scam alert on this seller and said that he was basically, he didn't know what he was doing. He was a bad 3D model maker, blah, 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 blah. And I think Okay, hold on. I'm jumping ahead of myself again. Okay, back up, Patrick. Okay, I got a lot of thoughts going through my head. This person said that the seller did not know what he's doing, didn't know how to make models. Actually, the seller, he sent me the messages so I could see the exchange between him and this person. And it sounded like a bunch of BS to me. And it reminded me of my situation that I had on eBay. The thing is, he was able to, he's on Etsy, by the way. He was able to, I guess he contacted Etsy or either whoever, wherever that bad review was, he contacted those admin folks and they removed the bad comment, a bad review. So things turned out good for him. And that's what I'm getting at, folks. When a lot of times we see these scam alerts for these bad people in comics or statues or wherever, and we should take the time to really evaluate what happened, maybe dig into it a little bit to see if it's actually a bad seller, because that's not always the case. Sometimes there's just a disagreement or a misunderstanding or a miscommunication between two people, and it can get blown out of proportion. Someone's feelings can get hurt, and then they feel their only recourse is to leave a bad review for the person, and that's not always the best course of action to take, but that's what some people do. And that's what the situation was here. Okay, I'm probably going to have to do a lot of heavy editing on this video because things are not coming out the way that I was thinking them in my head. But I hope I'm getting my point across. Sometimes these folks will say someone is a scammer, but they really are not. So I'm just asking, take your time, look into it before we blackball someone and say that they are not a good person. What I do is I try to use words like possible or maybe or could be. I don't want to definitely say, yeah, I saw this review of a scammer and then I pass it on and say, yeah, here's a scammer, look out for him. I try to use words and tell folks, look, maybe look into this some more, see what's going on for yourself before you classify someone as a scammer. All right, folks, that's it. Let me go ahead and start editing this. Hopefully I can save it and I won't have to record the whole thing over. But I just wanted to pass this along, that every time you see some scam alert, it doesn't mean that the person is a scammer. Maybe that was a misunderstanding. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks a lot. Oh, man, I forgot one of the main things I wanted to talk about. So here I go again. Okay. Now, I spoke about communication. Okay, I'm not going to talk so much about statues. I'll talk more about 3D models because that's where this incident occurred. The person who left, I'm going to call him I'm going to call him the 3D model maker. Okay, when this person left the 3D model maker a bad review, I read the messages like I said, and there was some discussion about the 3D model being hollow and about how certain materials were used to fill in that hollowness if that's what the buyer wanted. But the buyer, you always have to communicate to the 3D model maker what you want. They can make it hollow or they can make it solid. But of course, if it's solid, it's going to cost more money. Also, if you make one of these things hollow, and so that cheapens that doesn't cheapen, but it costs less to ship it. It costs less postage. So that's something to keep in mind. So if you get it solid, it's going to cost more to make and it's going to cost more to ship. So I think that's a good thing. Now, if you decide to get one of these hollow and you want to fill it yourself, maybe you want to consider doing that, getting it hollow and filling it yourself, because I am trying to teach myself to paint models and to, I guess, repair and do other work on them. And so that's why I'm going through all of this. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because Communication is really important when you having someone make something for you. Let them know what you want, and that can avoid a lot of confusion and all that other stuff. Okay, so that's it for real this time, folks. Thanks again. Bye.